A wedding can get cancelled faster than the flowers can die. It happened in Hartford, Connecticut during a late October downpour. Wet leaves stuck to the courthouse steps, headlights smeared across the street, and a certified envelope that didn't match its own tracking number. Her sister called her a walking mistake for falling in love again. The record called her served. And the only reason that lie collapsed was because the barcode in the court file belonged to a different letter I delivered to a different person. My name's Frank Hale. I work while the city sleeps. No rumors, just records, receipts, barcodes, signatures, timestamps. I don't guess, I verify. Most people think certified mail is just a serious version of mail, like a louder knock on a door. But certified isn't louder, it's heavier. When someone sends it, they're not trying to reach you, they're trying to prove you were reached. And in court, proved can beat true if you don't catch it fast enough. I first heard Naomi Brooks's name at 4:18 a.m. on the sorting floor. That's the hour the building feels like a machine you're inside of. Rollers turning, carts rattling, fluorescent lights that never soften. The kind of light that makes every envelope look guilty. I was running my handheld through a stack of certified pieces. Scan, beep, scan, beep. Same rhythm I've had for almost 3 decades. Then, I saw a return address that didn't belong in a normal morning. Family Court, Judicial District of Hartford. Clean window, block letters. A printed label so straight it looked like it had been measured. Addressee, Naomi Brooks. Address, 1123 Larkspur Court, Unit 2B. The envelope wasn't restricted. It wasn't marked personal. That meant anyone at the address could sign. That's the kind of detail people learn the hard way. I set it aside on top. Not because I was worried, because I've learned to respect certain return addresses. They don't show up for fun. They show up to move a piece on the board. They don't show up. By 5:32 a.m., I was loading the truck. Rain had started as a thin hiss and turned into a steady slap. Hartford rain in October isn't romantic. It's cold and impatient. I rolled out, wipers squeaking, heater fighting a losing battle, root phone buzzing with the day's first scans, like a heartbeat. Naomi's building was a 2-story brick walk-up that smelled like wet carpet and old cooking oil. The kind of place where the hallway lights feel always one bulb away from going out. I climbed to the second floor, found Unit 2B, and knocked. Not aggressive, not timid, firm, like policy. No answer. I waited the required beat and knocked again. That's when I heard movement, fast. Not footsteps that wander, footsteps that go straight to the door like someone's been standing behind it. A woman opened up just enough to show her face and one shoulder. Early 30s. Dark hair pulled back like she'd done it on autopilot. No makeup. Eyes alert in a tired way. Not awake, more like braced. I held the envelope where she could see it. "Morning," I said. "Certified for Naomi Brooks." Her eyes snapped to the window label, then to me, then back to the label. That flicker wasn't fear. It was calculation. "I'm Naomi," she said. That sentence comes in a lot of flavors. Some people say it like it's obvious. Some people say it like it's defensive. Naomi said it like she'd been practicing it. "Need your signature?" I told her. She looked behind her, deeper into the apartment, like she wanted to check if someone was listening. Then she opened the door wider. Her hand shook once when I handed her the stylus. Just once. She signed fast. Not messy, not careful, just fast, like she wanted the moment over. I typed what she said. N. Brooks. Timestamp 5:59 a.m. Status: delivered. She took the envelope and held it against her chest like it was a bruise. "Thanks," she said. Then the door shut. Lock clicked. Chain slid. Then the door shut. I stood there a half-second longer than normal, staring at the peeling paint on the doorframe. Because the building had that feeling. The feeling I've learned to trust without worshipping. Something wasn't right. Not dramatic, not dangerous. Procedurally wrong. Like a form filled out in the wrong color ink. The day kept moving. It always does. But by noon, Naomi's life had already started getting rearranged by paperwork. And she hadn't even opened the envelope when it happened. I know because she told me later, and because her voice still sounded like rain when she said it. The story didn't start with court. It started with family. Naomi's family wasn't the kind that yelled. They were the kind that smiled while they cut you. Her older sister, Denise, ran the family like she'd been elected. Same hair every day, same pearl studs, same way of speaking that made everything sound like a decision already made. Their mother followed Denise like a shadow. Their father stayed quiet like a man who'd given up trying to win. Naomi was the youngest, the one who always had potential, which is a polite way of saying she was always treated like she was in debt. At Naomi's cousin's engagement dinner a few months earlier, before any court papers, before any certified envelopes, Denise decided Naomi needed a public correction. They were at a restaurant on Farmington Avenue, all warm lights and clinking glasses, the kind of place where people take photos of food like it's proof they were happy. Naomi came in late from her shift at the hospital, scrubs under a coat, hair still damp from a rushed shower. She sat down quietly, tried to disappear into her chair. Denise didn't let her. "Oh, good," Denise said, loud enough for the table and the next table. "Naomi made it. I thought she might be distracted." Naomi forced a small smile. "Traffic." Denise leaned in with her own smile, like sisters do when they're about to perform. "How's your dating situation?" Denise asked. "How's your still doing the falling in love with problems thing?" The table laughed politely, the kind of laugh people give when they don't want to choose a side. Naomi's cheeks went tight. "I'm fine." Denise's eyes stayed sweet. "Fine is what you say when you don't want to tell the truth. But it's okay. We all know you're still figuring yourself out." And then Denise looked at Naomi's mother and added, like it was an afterthought, "She's always been a little unstable under pressure." Unstable. That word doesn't sound violent until you hear it said with a smile. Naomi didn't argue. She didn't cry. She didn't throw a drink. She did something more dangerous to a person like Denise. She went quiet. And later, when Naomi stood at the curb and waited for her rideshare, her cousin came outside and said, "She doesn't mean it like that." Naomi nodded like she believed it. But inside her head, a decision was already being made. Silence first, movement second. Naomi worked hard, The kind of work that makes days blur into each other. She paid down debts she hadn't caused, picked up overtime, skipped vacations, bought off-brand groceries, put $20 into savings whenever she could without feeling stupid. She stopped talking about her life at family gatherings. If Denise asked a question, Naomi answered with weather. Then she met Jonah. Not at a bar, not at some dramatic event, at a pharmacy line. Jonah was the kind of man people overlook because he didn't perform. He wore plain clothes, spoke softly, and stepped aside when someone needed space. He made Naomi laugh once, quietly, when she hadn't laughed in a while. Then he handed her a coupon she'd dropped, like it was normal kindness, not a move. They started slow. Coffee, walks, a movie where they didn't hold hands until halfway through. No social media, no big announcements. Naomi was careful in a way that came from being embarrassed before. Then Jonah did something that made her stop being careful for a second. He asked her to meet his mother. That's a small sentence for a normal person. For Naomi, it was a risk. They went. Jonah's mother hugged Naomi like she meant it, asked her about her work, remembered details, didn't treat her like a project. When Naomi got back into Jonah's car afterward, she sat there for a moment like she didn't know what to do with a normal reaction. "That went well," Jonah said. Naomi stared out through the windshield. "It did." Then she whispered the real truth, like she didn't want it to hear itself. "I don't think my family knows how to be normal." Jonah didn't try to fix it. He just said, "Then we'll build our own normal." A year later, Naomi had a new job title, a better schedule, and a down payment saved. And Jonah had a ring in his jacket pocket that he carried around for 2 weeks because he couldn't find the right moment. The moment ended up being ordinary. He proposed on Naomi's balcony, in sweatpants, with the city humming behind them and rain coming down like static. Naomi said yes before he finished the question. Then she made one mistake. She told Denise. Denise didn't scream. Denise didn't cry. Denise didn't plead. Denise congratulated her like she was accepting an award she'd earned. "Oh, wow," Denise said on the phone, voice bright. "Good for you. Jonah seems stable." Stable. The opposite of unstable, said like a compliment that still smelled like a warning. Denise asked where the wedding would be. Naomi said small. Denise asked when. Naomi said spring. Denise asked who would pay. Naomi said, "We will." There was a pause. Then Denise said, "That's brave." Brave is another word people use when they think you're making a mistake. And 2 weeks after that call, Naomi got served. Not by a person in a suit, not by a deputy, by me, by a certified envelope. She didn't open it right away, because people like Naomi don't open scary things until they've had coffee and a chance to breathe. But the court didn't wait for her to breathe, because the next afternoon, 1:06 p.m., Naomi's phone lit up with a number she didn't recognize. She answered anyway. "Ms. Brooks," a man said, "this is Officer Klein with Hartford PD. Are you aware there's an active temporary protective order involving your residence?" Naomi didn't understand the sentence at first. People don't, not until the words catch up with their body. "A what?" she asked. "Temporary protective order," the officer repeated, like he was reading. "Issued this morning. You're listed as the respondent." Respondent. That's a court word that makes you sound like a problem in a file. Naomi's voice went thin. I didn't do anything. I'm not here to discuss facts, the officer said. I'm here to confirm you were served notice for a hearing. Naomi's stomach dropped. Served? I got certified mail this morning. I haven't even... Court record says you were notified, he said. Not notified by truth, notified by paperwork. The order had a hearing date. The order had a case number. The order had a condition. Naomi was not to be within 100 yards of a person named Jonah Mercer. Jonah, her fiancé. Naomi sat down on her kitchen floor like her legs had made the decision without her. Who filed this? She asked. Officer Klein paused. Petitioner is Denise Brooks, he said, and then another name. Their mother. Naomi's throat went dry. That's my sister. I can't advise you, he said, but you need to appear at the hearing. Naomi blinked hard like she could shake the room back into place. I didn't get anything, she whispered, even though I'd watched her sign for it. But then she remembered she had. Certified. The envelope still unopened on the counter like a loaded object. Officer, she said, I was humiliated by my family for years. I finally moved on. I got engaged. And now this? The officer didn't respond to the emotion. Officers rarely can. He repeated the procedure. Appear. Bring documentation. Then he ended the call. Appear. Naomi opened the envelope with shaking fingers. Inside was a notice of hearing, a petition, a stack of claims. Her sister had written a story, that Naomi was unstable, that Naomi had episodes, that Naomi was a danger to Jonah, that Jonah didn't know what he was getting into, that Naomi needed intervention. The kind of story a court takes seriously, if it's delivered in the right format. And at the bottom, in clean court font, was the line that made Naomi's chest feel hollow. Proof of service, certified mail, tracking number listed. Naomi didn't know what to do with the tracking number, but she knew one thing. Somebody had built a record, and she didn't want to lose Jonah to ink. That's when she called the post office. Not the general line people call to complain about coupons, the local station. And that's how my route phone rang at 2:23 p.m., unknown number. I answered the way I always answer. Frank? A woman's voice came through, tight, controlled, trying not to break. Hi, I think you delivered certified mail to me this morning. I stopped walking. There are certain tones you learn to recognize. Not panic, not anger. The sound of someone trying to stay procedural while their life is tipping. What's the address? I asked. 1123 Larkspur Court, she said quickly. Unit 2B. My name is Naomi Brooks. I pulled my handheld log. I delivered a certified piece to that address at 5:59 a.m., I said. Naomi swallowed. I could hear it. They're saying I was notified for a protective order hearing, she said. Filed by my sister. They're saying I'm not allowed near my fiancé. That sentence had two parts, the legal part and the love part. The legal part was paperwork. The love part was the threat. Naomi took a breath. I need to know what you have, she said. Your log, your record, the tracking, anything. I kept my voice flat because emotion doesn't help the file. I can't give you personal details, I said, but I can tell you what exists. Timestamp, I said. Delivery status, signature capture. Naomi exhaled. Okay, Then she said the line that changed my day. "The tracking number in the court notice doesn't match the one on the envelope." I went quiet, because that's not common. Most scams are sloppy in the way they assume you won't look. A mismatch means someone copied something, or swapped something, or expected nobody to compare. "Read it to me," I said. Naomi did. I typed the number into my system, and my handheld did something that made my shift go quiet inside my head. It pulled up a delivery history. Not to Naomi, not to Larkspur Court. 7 days earlier. Delivered to Hartford Title and Escrow, downtown. Signed by J. Martinez. That tracking number wasn't Naomi's notice. It was somebody else's certified letter. And now it was being used as proof in a court file to say Naomi had been served. Paperwork doesn't just record a story. Sometimes it creates one. And when the barcode is wrong, the story can turn into a weapon. I said the sentence Naomi needed most. "Naomi Brooks, that tracking number isn't yours." She didn't speak for a second. Then, small. "What does that mean?" "It means the record they filed relies on a number that doesn't match your delivery," I said. "And courts care about that." "Can you prove it?" she asked, voice sharp now. "I can print a record," I said. "Tracking history, delivery address, timestamps." Naomi's breath came out like she'd been holding it underwater. "Please," she whispered. I told her where to meet me, outside the station after my route loop. No promises, no comfort talk, just procedure. "You bring the envelope," I said. "Unopened if you can, or bring the label. I need the barcode." Naomi said, "Okay." Then she added, almost as an afterthought, like she couldn't believe she was admitting it, "My sister has always wanted me to be small." That was the personal part, and I don't do personal. But I do patterns. When someone uses court paperwork to control someone's love life, it isn't about safety, it's about ownership. At 5:11 p.m., Naomi stood under the station awning with the envelope in her hands like it was evidence. And it was. She looked smaller than she sounded on the phone. People always do in person when they've been carrying fear all day. She handed me the envelope. I looked at the green label. Different tracking number, a clean number, a real number. I scanned it. It pulled up exactly what it should. Accepted at Hartford Processing, out for delivery, delivered 5:59 a.m., signature captured. And it did not match the number on the court notice. 2 numbers, 1 case. That's not a mistake. That's a swap. I printed both histories, Naomi's certified record and the title company's record that Denise had somehow attached to the court file. I circled the delivered to addresses with a pen Naomi probably stole from a nurse's station. I wrote the timestamps in the margin like the paper needed to be held down by ink. Then I did one more thing. I took a photo of Naomi's envelope label next to the printed record with my watch visible. Timestamp photo, object continuity. Because if someone's willing to swap tracking numbers in court, they're willing to claim you swapped them back. Naomi watched my hands like she was watching a language she didn't speak but needed to learn quickly. "Is this enough?" she asked. "It's a spine," I said, "not the whole body." Naomi nodded once. No tears, no speech. Silence and decision. That night, Naomi didn't call Denise. She didn't call her mother. She did what people like Denise hate most. She built a file. She called Jonah and said, "I need you to trust me, and I need you not to talk to my family." Jonah's voice, later described to me, was the voice of a man trying to understand how love can be attacked by forms. "I don't understand," he told her. Naomi didn't try to explain feelings. She explained facts. Naomi didn't try to... "Tomorrow," she said, "we go to the courthouse." Long journey doesn't always mean years. Sometimes it means a night where you don't sleep and you print everything you can. Naomi printed phone logs, screenshots, emails, old texts from Denise that sounded concerned but read like threats when you put them in a row. She pulled her medical evaluations from HR that showed she was fit for duty. She printed her performance reviews. She printed her lease, her pay stubs, her tax forms, everything that said stable. Because unstable is a word, but stability is a stack. The next morning, the rain came back in sheets like the sky had an opinion. Naomi and Jonah walked up the courthouse steps with wet shoulders and a folder thick enough to look like a weapon. The hallway smelled like wet wool and old coffee. People sat on benches holding paper like it was air. At the clerk window, Naomi asked for the case file. The clerk, young, tired, neutral, pulled it up on her monitor. Naomi didn't look at the clerk. She looked at the screen like she could force it to apologize. There it was, petition, allegations, and proof of service with the wrong tracking number typed cleanly like it was truth. Naomi slid my printouts under the glass. "This tracking number belongs to a different delivery," Naomi said, voice steady. "Different address, different signer." The clerk's eyes flicked down, then back up. Clerks don't get impressed, they get careful. She typed for a long minute, fingers moving fast. Then she said, quiet, "That tracking number does pull up a different recipient." Naomi didn't smile. Naomi didn't celebrate. She just nodded like she'd expected reality to behave if you forced it to. Jonah leaned closer. "So what happens?" The clerk glanced around like she didn't want to be overheard. "You request an emergency review," she said. "You bring this to the judge. Service issues matter." Service issues matter. Service issues. That sentence is the difference between living by rumors and living by records. Outside the courtroom, Naomi's family arrived like they were attending a performance. Denise walked in first, coat crisp, hair perfect, eyes already irritated like the room should be grateful. Their mother followed, lips tight, clutching a purse like it was innocence. They saw Naomi and Jonah and slowed down just enough to make it obvious they were choosing to be seen. Denise smiled. "Oh," she said, loud enough for people to hear. "Jonah came. That's brave." There was that word again. Naomi didn't answer. Denise turned her eyes to me for a second, because I was there too. Yes, I showed up. Not as a hero, not as a savior, as a witness with a printer. My job isn't to win a story, it's to make sure the record doesn't lie without resistance. The bailiff called the case. We went in. The judge was a woman in her 50s, with tired eyes and a voice that didn't waste syllables. She read. She didn't speak for a while. Silence in court is not emptiness. Silence is evaluation. Then the judge looked up. "Ms. Brooks," she said to Naomi, "you're the respondent." You're contesting this order on grounds of improper service.
Yes, Your Honor,
Naomi said. Denise stood quickly, already prepared.
Your Honor,
Denise said, voice sweet.
we're just trying to protect Jonah. Naomi has patterns. She gets unstable.
The judge didn't react to unstable. Judges don't react to adjectives, they react to evidence. Naomi slid the printouts forward on the table.
Your Honor,
Naomi said.
the proof of service in the file uses a tracking number that does not belong to my notice.
The judge's eyes narrowed. Explain. Naomi didn't explain feelings. She explained procedure.
The notice I received has a different certified tracking number,
Naomi said.
different.
This number in the proof of service belongs to a certified delivery made to a business downtown 7 days earlier. The judge looked at the clerk, then at the file, then back at Naomi. Do you have documentation? She asked. Naomi slid my printouts forward. 2 tracking histories, 2 delivered to addresses, 2 signatures, one of them not hers. The judge leaned in. This is the part people don't understand about court. The temperature changes when the record changes. The judge looked up again. Ms. Brooks, she said, who is Mr. Hale? I stood. Frank Hale, I said, United States Postal Service. Denise's smile slipped just a fraction. The judge's voice stayed flat. Mr. Hale, she said, did you deliver a certified notice to Naomi Brooks at 1123 Larkspur Court yesterday at approximately 5:59 a.m.? Yes, I said. And does the tracking number on that notice match the number listed in this proof of service? The judge asked. No, I said. That one word can cut through a whole story people have been telling for years. The judge looked at Denise. Petitioner, the judge said, how did this tracking number end up in your filing? Denise blinked, like she wasn't used to being asked a real question. It's what we had, she said. We did the paperwork the way we were told. The judge's gaze didn't soften. That's not an answer, she said. Denise's mother whispered something to her. Denise's jaw tightened. The judge looked back at Naomi. Ms. Brooks, she said, I'm vacating this temporary order pending proper service and a review of the filing. Denise made a small sound like disbelief. The judge raised a hand. And, she continued, I'm referring the service discrepancy to the clerk's office for further review. Further review. That phrase is caught for, you might have turned your family issue into an official problem. Naomi's shoulders dropped, not with relief, but with the release of a trap snapping open. Outside the courtroom, Denise tried to speak, snapping open. Naomi, you're being dramatic, she hissed. We were protecting. Naomi didn't let Denise finish. Naomi didn't raise her voice. She did something Denise couldn't rewrite later. She said one sentence, calm and final. You don't get to file my life. Then she walked away with Jonah. No yelling, no revenge speech. Boundaries. Because boundaries are what you build when you've learned your family will use any opening as a door. 2 months later, Naomi married Jonah at City Hall with 8 people and no family seats. They didn't post photos, they didn't invite commentary. They signed, they filed, they kept copies. That's what love looks like when you've seen how fragile official can be. I went back to my route the next morning. Same wet streets, same grey sky, same mail. But I kept thinking about how easily the word unstable almost became a legal outcome, just because it was delivered in the right format. People think betrayal is emotional. Sometimes betrayal is procedural. Sometimes it's a tracking number that doesn't belong in your case file. Sometimes it's a lie printed cleanly enough to look like truth. And sometimes the only thing that saves you is the boring part. Barcodes, logs, timestamps. If your family tried to control your relationship with paperwork, would you confront them first? Or would you do what Naomi did? Build a record, stay silent, and let the record speak. Tell me in the comments. And if you want more stories where proof is louder than people, subscribe.